Noelle, what do you think? $8,000? What's going to come first, that or 400?
Well, between 8 and 400, there's certainly quite a wide range. I mean, you know the saying, if you're going to predict with very wide ranges, right? Thank you so much for having Emily. I do have to say that anything I say are my opinions, not those of my employer. And of course, nothing I say is investment advice. And first of all, huge respect to Mr. Menard. He was one of the first institutional investors, one of the early ones to look at Bitcoin. And he did do his homework back in the day. But later on in this interview that you showed a part of, he did say that his predictions of 8,000 was based on technicals because there's nothing else. I more or less quote there. And that is overlooking the growing adoption and the fixed supply. This is something that many people tend to forget, that no matter how high the Bitcoin price or how large the demand, the supply remains fixed. That's a fundamental feature right there. Bitcoin's demand, which is growing, could multiply by 1,000 times. The supply will remain fixed. Its price could go up by 10x. The supply will remain fixed. That's a pretty compelling investment case right there, Emily.
I want to ask you about some of the wreckage in the wake of this Terra disaster. They now have a new plan that's been approved to split the Terra blockchain into Terra Classic and Luna Classic. What do you make of this as a path forward?
Well, as you can imagine, crypto Twitter today is having a field day with this. I must say that anything that gives those that lost a lot of money a chance to get some of that money back should be entertained. I mean, that would be a very good development. That said, a lot of trust has been broken here. A lot of trust needs to be recovered, which actually, Emily, when you come to think of it, is quite ironic that trust is still such a firm component of a system that was designed to not need centralized trust, to be able to have a decentralized trust mechanism. Shows that we can't get rid of the trust component after all.
Well, so I wonder what the path forward is then also for regulators. We know that the House Committee on Financial Services is going to be talking about digital assets. For example, could a Fed central bank digital dollar, so to speak, be possible?
It's certainly possible. And in fact, in some parts of the world, we already are seeing central bank digital currencies. And my opinion is that, yes, we will see central bank digital currencies be quite commonplace within 5 years. And the form that this will take is still being hotly debated. It has many potential efficiency features. There are also some risks. We need to be careful. But what is most interesting, and going back to what you mentioned earlier about the Terra implosion, is that this will accelerate regulatory clarity, not just about crypto assets, but about stable coins, their potential use in global trade, their potential convenience for consumer services as well. It's a fascinating field, and standing here right in the middle of it, where it's all happening, watching what is arguably one of the most profound transformations of how we transact with each other as entities, as individuals, as sovereigns even. It's an exciting time to be looking at this space.
Now, someone who is optimistic is Andreessen Horowitz. They just announced a record $4.5 billion crypto fund. What do you make of the influence that Andreessen Horowitz has on the crypto ecosystem more broadly? They've got quite a bit of money at stake here.
They have a lot of money. They have a lot of money, and that's their main influence. But what they have announced today is a reminder of just how much money is still sitting on the sidelines. We've had a frothy time of it in the crypto markets recently, certainly not because of the price, but valuations have been very high. Hiring has been very accelerated. I know of many investors who have been uncomfortable with this. They're sitting it out because they think the valuations are crazy. I know of many entrepreneurs that have walked out of initial pitch meetings with signed term sheets, and many other investors anecdotally have told me that if they don't come up with a term sheet after the first meeting, they're out of the deals. That's kind of a crazy time. That's frothy, not because of price, unlike other frothy markets that we've had. What happened in the market crash the week of May the 11th is a jar of cold water on the entire system has knocked a lot of the froth out. So the vast amount of money that has been sitting on the sidelines, a lot of it coming from Andreessen Horowitz and their funds, will now have better opportunities in which to invest. We'll be able to take their time and really do some due diligence and perhaps be more careful. That's another thing the Terra implosion reminded all of us, that we do need to be careful and really think things through. The regulators also, no doubt, are going to be taking a more careful look at some of the stable coins and some of the other projects because protection is part of their role. But now that the froth seems to have a slightly different tone, I expect us to see different kinds of investment deals. There's a lot of money out there, a lot of belief in the potential of the crypto industry to transform not just finance, but many other aspects of our culture. And that's going to be very exciting to see.
I wonder quickly, and I think about a company like MicroStrategy, how do you think these massive price fluctuations are going to impact institutional sentiment quickly?
One thing that needs to change is the accounting principles for companies like MicroStrategy. That's a very different issue. Institutional sentiment has taken a hit, but it has certainly not gone away. This is something that we see at Genesis every single day. We are still talking to them. They are still investing. They are still trading. But a bit more caution is definitely the tone that we're seeing.